Luke chapter 8. And it came to be, in that according to the fact also he walked on the ways through the land in every city and the respective village, heralding and well announcing the regency of God. Also together with him were the 12. And some women who were once having been cured and freed from unclean spirits and weaknesses, Mary being called Magdalene, from whom had come out 7 demons, and Joanna, the wife of Huxas, the conceitor of Herod, and Susanna, and many ulterior ones, who served them out of their possessions. But a many numerous throng being together, also those going on to him out of each nearby city, he said through a parable, The sowing one came out, that he sow his seed, and in that he sowed that abides. Some fell beside the way, and was downtrodden, and the wingers of the heaven ate it down. And ulterior seed fell on the rock, and having been made to sprout, it also, because it had no moisture, was dried up. And ulterior seed fell in the midst of the thorns, and having been made to sprout together, the thorns suffocated it. And ulterior seed sprouted into the good earth land, and as having been made to sprout, it made hundredfold fruit. Saying this, he let resound a call. The one having ears to hear, let him hear. But his learning ones asked on him what this parable may be. But he said, To you it is given to know the mysteries of the regency of God, but to the rest it will be said in parables, so that as looking they may not look see, and as hearing they hear and do not understand. But this is the parable. The seed is the word of God. But these beside the way are the hearing ones. Thereafter comes the diabolos, and lifts away the word from their hearts, lest in that they are faithing they may be saved. But those having fallen on the rock are those who, when as it were, they hear the word of God, receive it with joy, but these have not root. They who faith for one term, and in the term of temptation stand off. But that having fallen into the thorns, these are those hearing, and in that they are going forth, being moved by worries and riches, and the relishes of the maintaining of their subsistence, they become suffocated together, and bring it not to the finishing. But that which is in the ideal earthland, these are those who, in an ideal and good heart, as hearing ones, down have the word, and carry fruit in below abidance. But also not one lighting a lamp veils it with an implement, or sets it further down under the place of reclination, but he sets it on the lampstand, so that those going in may look see the light. For not as one thing secreted which will not become revealed, but also not any away secreted one, which will not, yea, not be known, and comes into the revealed. Hence, look how you hear, for who as it were has, to him will be given, and whom as it were has not, also that which he deems to have will be lifted from him. But his mother and his brothers were led by to him, and they were not able to attain together to him because of the throng. But it was announced to him, The mother and your brothers have taken stand outside, as being willing to perceive you. But answering he said to them, My mother and my brothers are these which are hearing the word and doing it. But it came to be in one of the days, and he stepped into a ship, also his learning ones, and he said to them, We should come through towards the shore beyond the lake. But while they were sailing, he fell asleep, and a whirl of wind descended into the lake, and the ship was altogether filled with water, and they were in danger. But having come, they thoroughly awakened him, saying, Master, Master, we are wholly loosened away. But having been thoroughly awakened, he warned the wind and the surge of water, and it reposed, and it became a calmness. But he said to them, Where is your faithing? But they, having been made to fear, marveled, saying, Who is consequently this one, that he also orders on the winds and the water, and they are below hearing to him? And they sailed down into the region of the Gergesenes, which is beyond opposite Galilee. But he coming out on the earthland, he encountered a man on the underway out of the city having demons, who also for an adequately long time did not slip into a raiment, and did not abide in a house, but in the place of sepulchres. But having perceived Jesus, crying up, out he fell towards him, and said with a great voice, "What is between me and you, Jesus, you Son of God of the Most High? I entreat of you, may you not torment me." For he instructed the unclean spirit to come out from the human. For many times that one had caught him, and he was put in bonds, keeping him with chains and foot fetters. And thoroughly rending the bonds, he was driven by the demon, by pushing into the desolate regions. But he asked on him, "What is your name?" But this one said, "Legion," since many demons came into him. And they beside called him, lest he may order on them to come away into the abyss. But there was a led about herd of adequately many swine taking up herbage in the mountain. And they beside called him, so that he may concede to them to come into those. And he conceded it. But the demon having come out from the human came into the swine, and the led about herd hastened down the slope into the sea, and was suffocated. But those giving herbage, having perceived that having been become, fled and announced it into the city and into the field places. But those being there came out to perceive that having been become, and came to Jesus, and found the human from whom the demon had come out, as one having seat, yea, having become clothed with raiment, and being reasonable, having seat next to the feet of Jesus, and they were made to fear. But those having perceived all this announced it, saying to them how the one having been demonized was saved. And all the fullness of the region round about the Gergesenes asked him to come away from them, since they were pressed together due to great fear. But he, having stepped into the ship, he turned on away. But the man from whom the demon had come out entreated him to be allowed to be together with him, but he unloosened him, saying, "Return below into your dwelling site, and tell as much as God did to you." And he came away heralding throughout the whole city as much as Jesus had done to him. But it came to be in that Jesus returned below, the throng welcomed him, for they were all hoping for him. And perceive, a man who was named Jairus came, and he possessed the office of the archperson of the synagogue. And having fallen next to the feet of Jesus, he beside calls him to come into his dwelling site, since to him was an only become daughter of about 12 years, and she was deadening away. But in that he went away, the throng almost suffocated together him. And a woman, being in a flow of blood for 12 years, who due to the healers was consuming her whole subsistence, and was not strong, yea, from not one to be cured, having come from behind, she touched the tassel of his raiment, and immediately thereafter the flow of her blood stopped. And Jesus said, "Who was touching me?" But while all were denying it, Peter and those being together with him said, "Master, the throngs press you together and crowd you away." But Jesus said, "Someone touched me, for I knew the ability power having been come out from me." But the woman, having perceived that she was not unnoticed, came trembling, and having fallen toward him, she announced all thoroughly in the eye of all the people, and how she was healed immediately thereafter. But he said, "Daughter, your faithing has saved you. Go into peace." Still during his speaking, one comes out from beside the archperson of the synagogue community, saying, "Your daughter has come to death. Pester the teacher no more." But Jesus, hearing this, said to him, "Fear not, only faith, and she will be saved." But having come into the house, he let not one come in together with him, except Peter and James and John, and the father of the maiden and the mother. But all sobbed and did ululate because of her. But he said, "Do not sob, for she did not deaden away, but she down rests." And they down laughed at him, and perceiving that she deadened away. But he, holding her by the hand, let resound a call, saying, "Maiden, raise yourself up." And her spirit turned on about, and immediately thereafter she rose. And he ordered thoroughly for something to be given to her to eat. And her parents were shocked, but he instructed them not to say to one that having been become.